Welcome to Executive Leaders Radio, your spot in the corner office, the radio show where executives share their secrets to success. Executive Leaders Radio.
You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio, broadcast from the Philadelphia offices of the law firm Morgan Lewis. This is your host, Herb Cohen, with my co-host, Shannon Lane, Newmark Knight Frank, Peter Snelling, Merrill Lynch, Andrew Hanlon, Hanlon Creative, Mary Pat Kessler, Sabre Systems, Brendan Fee, Morgan Lewis, and Val Schlitt, VSA. And Peter, can you give us a rundown of who we have on the air today?
Sure,
please?
Thanks, Herb. We have Deborah Diamond, President, Campus Philly, Bob Cole, Founder and CEO, Worldwide Stereo, Michael Fitzgerald, CEO of Acero Precision, and Jim Rogers, Managing Partner, Haefele Flanagan.
And let's get to know our first guest, Deborah Diamond, President of Campus Philly. Deborah, what is Campus Philly? What are you guys doing?
Campus Philly is an organization that engages college students in Philadelphia so that they stay in Philadelphia after they graduate.
Mm-hmm. Can you give us any interesting statistics about the organization?
Yeah, Philadelphia has seen a 115% increase in young college graduates between 2000 and 2017.
Wow. All right. That's interesting. Where are you from originally?
I grew up in Center City, Philadelphia.
How many brothers and sisters?
I'm the middle of two boys.
All righty. Drew. Oh, excuse me, Val. Please take over from there.
Tell me about your mom.
My mom was a real feminist. She graduated from Bryn Mawr College, and I think that was the start of it.
And what effect did that have on your career?
I think it made me feel like I could do anything I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. All right. Mr. Drew, what do you got?
Deborah, can you tell us a little bit about the dinner table discussion when you were younger?
Yeah, my dad is a lawyer. He's retired, and he ran the dinner table like a law school classroom and real Socratic method stuff, and always questioning, always pushing us, always forcing us to give good reasons for things.
And did you engage in those debates?
Yeah, I was the one who engaged. My brothers kind of backed away from the table, and he and I really had a lot of long, hard talks and conversations.
And there's a lot to be learned from those conversations. I'm just curious, what was your key takeaway that your dad taught you?
I think it was that, you have to have good reasons for everything you do. You don't have to take things as given. You can think through things and not accept things just the way they are.
And do you feel like you can use those lessons today in your leadership style?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of the leadership is thinking about new ways of solving, hard problems, and I think that kind of intellectual creativity I got from the dinner table has been really helpful.
Shannon?
Deborah, who was your role model growing up?
My role models tended to be people sort of in my family life who were doing non-traditional things, so they were academics or researchers, things like that.
And was there somebody in particular that you mentioned in the green room earlier?
Yeah, my uncle, who was a historian of science. He was a real influence.
And what does exposure have to do with what you're doing today?
I think those role models really made me feel like opening yourself up to a lot of different possibilities, learning about a lot of different kinds of things was the way to find out what you really wanted to do and the way to live kind of a really rich life.
Deborah, why is it so important that these students in the Philadelphia universities stay here after graduation?
Yeah, these days, talent is really driving growth for cities. And so when Philadelphia sees more college-educated young adults living here and choosing Philadelphia, it means more employees for our growing businesses. It means more entrepreneurs. And it really is the foundation of the economic growth of Philadelphia.
What about your own personal experience about growing up in Center City? Any connection there?
Yeah, I loved growing up in the city. We had a lot of freedom. We could walk everywhere we wanted to go. I really loved that it was a really diverse place, and that meant that you were always meeting people who are different than you and having to think about those differences, and that was just a really enriching way to grow up.
So you want these students to stay here and experience what you did?
Yeah, I love Philadelphia, and so it's great to be a champion of it. But I also feel like what you're exposed to when you live in Philadelphia is really enriching, and that inviting the students to experience that is really a great thing to do.
Brendan?
Deborah, did you ever consider following in your father's footsteps, being an attorney, and what made you take a more non-traditional path?
Yeah, I had law school applications on my desk in graduate school for many years, and I think in the end, I really wanted a life that was led by my own curiosity, and that's meant for me in the beginning academics and getting my PhD, and I think that that's carried through in leading an organization as well.
Peter?
Deborah, in the green room, you mentioned that your mother had an inviting personality. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, my mom is an incredibly warm person. People always remark on her smile, and I think that what I learned from that was the power of being warm and the power of inviting people, and that really has come into play at Campus Philly because, one of the most powerful things we do for students is to invite them to stay in Philadelphia, and there's really no one else who does that, and they feel that difference.
Do you think you've had any impact on Philadelphia?
Well, certainly, I'd like to think so. I think that we see numbers growing, which is great, like 115% of students increase in college graduates. But I see the impact when I meet one-on-one with a student and she tells me a story about finding an internship through Campus Philly, finding a mentor, and deciding to stay here after she graduates. Those individual stories, I can tell the impact.
So I understand that Campus Philly is inviting. Tell us about some of the mechanisms you use to attract and to bond the students to Philadelphia.
Yeah, we found that there are two things that we need to do. One, they have to fall in love with Philadelphia so that we're in their consideration set when they decide where to go. And so we do a lot of things to help them do that, really just like I fell in love with Philadelphia when I was growing up, making sure they know the neighborhoods and find their way around and see all the city has to offer. And the other half is they need a job opportunity. So we connect students to internships, to employers who are looking to build their talent pipeline, and to educate students about the variety of things there are to do in Philadelphia. A lot of them don't realize the range of opportunity for them here.
The range of opportunity. What do you mean by the range of opportunity? What are you talking about there?
Students don't really know what people do for a living. They know there are lawyers, they know there are doctors, they know there are teachers, but, a lot of the people you're talking to in this show are doing things that students really need to be exposed to as opportunities for them. And so we're always bringing those kinds of young professionals and leaders in front of them to show them this could be your path.
So you are of the opinion that if you expose these students to what people really do for a living, that they're liable to understand better and make better choices and be happier through the course of their lives?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these days, not only will students not be working for one employer, but they're not going to have one career. And so for them to be exposed to a lot of different kinds of pathways and understand the power of relationships and networks and getting in building their future, I think they'll be more successful. And I think, honestly, Philadelphia is one place where that's easier for young people to do than other places.
Deborah, earlier in the green room, I mentioned and thanked you, Sabre Systems has joined Campus Philly, and we have a great pipeline of cyber talent, computer science because of your organization. Our head of HR is working with Campus Philly and meeting up at those events. High praise.
Thank you so much. Now, Sabre's been a great partner, and we love bringing the talent and the opportunity together.
So on one hand, the benefit to the CEO or to the organization is that they're liable to find some talent, and the benefit to your organization is they're going to be exposing the kids to a variety of opportunities, so it's a win-win. So you're acting as a natural bridge between the talent and business.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we hear a lot these days that businesses are searching for talent. The talent is hard to come by, and the students really do want to stay. So we really feel like we're solving a problem because there's not a natural solution between those two groups. There really does need to be an introducer, and we're that introducer.
Yeah, an inviting introducer, which is the role you're playing with your organization. What's the best part of your day?
Honestly, it's walking into my office and seeing my team there. I love the people I work with. We have an open office, and I just like coming to work and working with them.
So you really enjoy the team and what the team does. What's the website address for your organization?
We're at campusphilly.org.
campusphilly.org. And when you say that it's coming into work, do you ever talk to the students? You ever get a chance to talk to the students you influence?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we do events throughout the year, and we'll see anywhere from 50 to 5,000 students at those events. And those conversations are really powerful. It's always remarkable to me how much they're doing, how much creativity and energy they have, and I'm always impressed by them.
Give me the website address one last time.
campusphilly.org.
And this is, we've been speaking with Deborah Diamond, president of Campus Philly, here on Executive Leaders Radio. Don't forget to visit our website. It's executiveleadersradio.com. To learn more about our executive leaders, we'll be back in a moment, right after this business spotlight. Want help building your business with help from this show's CEOs? Our CEOs can help you uncover more opportunities, grow your sales, connect you, help you raise money, all the big issues, because our CEOs have been there and done that. They've succeeded in creating millions of jobs and earning millions of dollars, and some are available to advise you. Now, email mentors@executiveleadersradio.com. That's mentors@executiveleadersradio.com. The same CEOs you've heard on the show for 10 years may be willing to help you build your business, uncover new opportunities, grow your sales, connect you, help you raise money, all the big issues, because our CEOs have been there and done that, succeeding in creating millions of jobs and earning millions of dollars. And some are available to advise you. Now, email mentors@executiveleadersradio.com. That's mentors@executiveleadersradio.com. We're back. You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio. This is your host, Herb Cohen. We'd like to introduce Bob Cole, founder and CEO of Worldwide Stereo. Bob, what is Worldwide Stereo?
Worldwide Stereo is an operation that's got a couple of retail stores. We're online. We sell consumer electronics to people. That includes stereos, TVs, lighting, shade control, home automation.
How old is this business?
40 years plus.
And how did it start?
It was just a lark.
It started as a stereo store.
It started
back
as a
in the
stereo
70s.
Store. Yep.
And most of the stereo stores that started in the 70s are dead.
Pretty much.
But for some reason, you've managed to thrive and survive. Where are you from originally?
Rumson, New Jersey.
Rumson, New Jersey. Where is that? Central New Jersey?
That's Monmouth County up near Asbury Park.
All right. True.
Bob, can you tell us a little about your mom and dad?
So my father was a hard guy. Grew up in Appalachia, really. He was an athlete for Penn State. My mom is an Italian. She's got 4 loving sisters, and she was all about love and kindness.
So what did your dad teach you about running a stereo store?
Discipline, and that you just got to work your hiney off. I mean, that was his focus.
And how about your mom?
My mom, it was all about be nice to people, and things will come your way.
Be nice to people and things will come your way. Your mom and your dad taught you to work really hard. Okay. Val.
So what effect did Sister Mary Dora have on you?
No, this is a true story. When I went on grammar school, Sister Dora came up to me. She was the tough nun. And she said, "How you doing, Robert?" And I said, "I'm doing good, Sister." And she gave me a rap in the head and said, "The Pope does good. You have to do well." And I was a smart ass, so I said, well, can't you do well by doing good? And she gave me another rap, but then she said, maybe, but she'll never be number 1. And I said, well, I don't mind being number 2. And that stuck with me all my life.
Well, how's that affected your building of this business, though? I'm trying to figure
It's really easy. So it's the fundamental rule of my company. Everybody's got to buy into it or go somewhere else. Customer walks in the door. People don't really know what they want. They just want to feel good. So we don't sell boxes and gadgets and gear. We sell experiences and try and make people happy.
So if I walked into your stereo store, what would be the question you guys would ask me?
What kind of car do you drive? You married? You got kids? What kind of music do you listen to? Do you like movies? You know.
So you're trying to understand what experience you can create for me.
It's person to person. We try and do that on the internet as well.
Huh. How interesting.
And it works.
Shannon.
Bob, how did being raised Catholic shape the way you are today?
Well, I mean, I certainly grew up very Catholic. We lived next door to a mission church, and I was a Knight of the Altar. And for whatever reason, I was fortunate. I mean, my experiences were all positive, and it was all about love thy neighbor and being kind and helping the poor, and it all worked. And, doing well by doing good.
Wait a minute. I got a question. You mentioned earlier that your mom taught you about honor. What was that all about?
I just, had to be honest, kind. There was a work ethic there. It was a big work ethic.
What was the Knights and Captains about? What was that about?
That could be. My mom used to read stories, and she was all about Errol Flynn and Treasure Island and sailing adventure stories.
She would read these stories to you?
She would read these stories to me, but she would always embellish, and she would always tell me that you can be a captain. You should be a captain.
Uh-huh.
I like being a captain.
How'd that influence? And this really stuck with you. How'd that influence you?
It just never occurred to me to be otherwise.
Didn't you mention something about theater?
Oh, okay. Well, I was a situational extrovert. I found early on that I prefer to be alone, but I found that if I did a good presentation, it's like being in theater. So when I sell, I got to get the person's attention.
So you're telling me that when your customers come in, you're paying attention to them. You're helping create theater of the mind for them. You're helping them really appreciate what you can create for them. It's not selling them a stereo or a pair of speakers or a TV. It's the whole experience.
Yeah, I'm known for totally redirecting a customer from what they came in for and walking out with something completely different.
But it's not selling. You're not selling.
I'm developing a relationship.
Huh. And that's coming from your mom helping you appreciate, that you can dream and you can create.
Yeah, absolutely. And my mom believed that man and woman were basically good.
Mm-hmm. Mary Pat?
Robert, when you were in the green room you mentioned you had a lot of interest and you were a member of different unions. Can you tell us a little bit about that growing up?
Yeah, on the one hand, it's kind of like a terrible story, but it's a really wonderful story. And my father never hesitated to say he made us self-reliant because he really didn't help us. So we were all in the union, and because of that, it was the hod carriers union. So we were pretty low, if you know what a hod carrier is. So we worked at the racetrack. We built bridges. I learned carpentry, electronics, electricity. We built houses. And
how did learning all those trades help you build a business?
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm kind of like a contractor. I understand people's homes. And I want to put a theater in somebody's house. I don't need to have the conversation about how it's built. I know how it's built.
Wait a minute. So you're telling me that you started off selling stereo systems in the 70s with a pair of speakers. You're telling me now you can actually construct a theater in somebody's home, and that stems from the fact your father exposed you to all these different trades?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And music was a very central focus of our life growing up.
Ah, interesting.
So that was a big deal, and most of theater is about music.
Brendan?
Bob, we talked a lot about your work ethic, but I want to know what you do to relax.
Well, my wife would argue that I don't. I like to be active. That's how I relax. So, I like to sail offshore, paddleboard. I like to do adrenaline things, race cars.
What does that tell us about you as a business leader?
That I'm happy to be out front,
And he's restless, and it's a lot of energy.
I do meditate.
Short
periods of time.
Well, that's how you're able to relax. You got to somehow turn it off. It sounds like the meditation's a way for you to relax. Peter?
You have this adventurous spirit. Who taught you that you could do anything you want?
Well, my mother encouraged it, but my godfather, who was really her best friend, he was successful. He had money, but he always took the time for himself to live an adventure. So, he disappeared for a year to be a cowboy. He would captain boats. He would sign on to freighters. And it was nothing he ever had to do, but he knew if he didn't do it, he wouldn't get to do it.
Robert, I have a question for you. How do you measure success? What's your measurement of success? What's that look like?
Ralph Waldo Emerson. If I make a difference to somebody's life, if some kid thinks I had something to do with his success, that's to me is success.
Tell me more about that. What do you mean?
Well, very much like Deborah, the happiest time in my day is walking into my company and seeing my people. I love my people. They love me. I have no turnover in staff.
What are you talking about? You have no turnover in staff. The idea of working at a stereo store, these businesses have gone out of business. They come into business. They go out of business. You've been around for 40 years and you don't have any turnover? What's going on there?
The bulk of my people have been there. For a lot of them, it's their only job they've ever had. Probably 30% of them, they've been there for more than half their lives. And we're just a happy place. I also pay more.
Wait a minute. So I thought the measurement of success for a business owner, for a CEO, is how much money you make, but that's not really what your game is it?
Yeah, no. Actually, my chief operating officer is a really brilliant man, ex-Marine, gave me a hard time because I don't pay attention to the bottom line. It's more about making people happy.
Huh. So and because you have such a variety of skills, because of what your father exposed you to with the different trades, and because your mother encouraged you with your creativity, it's like you're the culmination of all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy about the outcome there.
Let alone the restlessness. It's like you just keep on rocking. You just like you're the Energizer Buddy. You just keep
It's a wonderful world.
You just keep on creating, don't you?
Yeah.
So as opposed to technology thwarting you or going out of business, you enjoy playing with the newer technologies, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
What's this thing with the window shades you were talking about?
Well, we do shade control, which a lot of people think is just shades going up and down, but it's really about it affects the environment of the house, it affects the temperature, climate, how the artwork looks, etc.
So you really enjoy embracing the new technology. You like integrating the new technologies in your designs.
Well, we have to.
What's the website address of your organization?
WorldwideStereo.com.
Let me have that one more time.
WorldwideStereo.com.
We've been speaking with Bob Cole, founder and CEO of Worldwide Stereo, here on Executive Leaders Radio. Don't forget to visit our website. It's ExecutiveLeadersRadio.com. We'll be back in a moment, right after this break. We're back. You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio. This is your host, Herb Cohen. We'd like to introduce Michael Fitzgerald, CEO of Acero Precision. Michael, what is Acero Precision? What are you guys doing?
Acero Precision is basically a factory. We make precision machine parts to order for a variety of customers.
Mm-hmm. How large or how small is the team?
We have just under 150 employees, and we do just under $30 million in revenue.
Mm-hmm. Where are you from originally?
I'm from Havertown.
How many brothers and sisters?
I've got an Irish twin who's 11 months younger than me, a brother, and a sister who's 4 years younger.
How'd you get a job with this company? It's about 150 people.
I founded the company on my junior co-op while attending Drexel University for a degree in mechanical engineering.
So you were in college and you started the business, which is now 150 people. How young were you when you started making money?
Well, it depends on what you mean by money.
Well, as a kid.
My first dollar, I was 13, I suppose, and started making real money when I was maybe 28
when you were
or
13, what were you doing when you were 13?
I was counting parts in an inventory, doing inventory in an auto parts warehouse in North Philly.
What did you enjoy about that, or what did you do that they didn't expect?
Well, I liked, most warehouses are a little bit of chaos, and I liked the fact that I was being employed to straighten things out and organize things, and I liked organizing things, and the owners really liked when I did an area what it looked like.
What does this organizational ability have to do with your ability to build this business from scratch to 150 people?
Well, I think the business that we're in is precision. A lot of the products that we make go either into the human body or they're used in devices where people could be hurt or killed if they're not correct. Mm-hmm. So working to structure and following processes is something that I'd like to do, and I think that we naturally grew because we could provide that to our clients.
True.
Speaking of precision, Michael, you told us in the green room you like to race Formula One cars. Can you tell us a little bit about what excites you about that?
Well, one of the reasons that I actually chose the business, and we didn't really touch on this, was when I was 13 or 14, I watched a movie called Grand Prix with James Garner in it. And the first 20 minutes, they were driving cars through the streets of Monte Carlo, and I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. So when I started the business, I foolishly thought that if I had a machine shop, we could kind of work during the day and work on the cars at night.
And what did you learn about driving race cars?
Well, I found it was the only thing that I could do where I could relax, believe it or not, because trying to run and grow a business, you're hit with 1,000 things a day. I think I make 1,000 decisions a day, and being inside the car, all alone with a lot of things happening, let me focus and actually chill out, believe it or not.
And when you had a great day on the track, what did that mean? How did that express itself? What were you doing right?
Well, in racing, nobody lets you pass them. You have to take it from them. And I suppose a great day in the car would be that you technically set the car up properly. You were able to overcome kind of your inner demons, fears of being hurt. So you were in the zone, you would say. And then also you would be aggressive enough to kind of take what you want, which is a position.
Mike, what is good enough?
Well, in what we do, good enough would be making the products to match the specifications on the drawing. And I think one of the reasons that Acero has been successful is our standard operating procedure in our factory is we try and give the customer twice or half the tolerance that they request. And I think that's...
So it seems that there's an oxymoron between being neat and organized and kind of the chaos and the risk of being a race car driver or starting a business. So how do these competing drivers affect you in your business today, being a leader?
I suppose that's an interesting question. There is a lot of chaos, especially in running a factory or driving a car. And I suppose because of my personality and some of the other key people that I have with me, we are able to take that chaos and structure it and get a good result.
Shannon?
Michael, what sports were you involved in?
When I was a young person or child, I played rugby in high school, and then I was on the crew at Drexel for 4 years.
And why rugby and why crew?
Well, the rugby part was just to be with the cool kids. It was a big high school, and I liked the group of guys that was there. It was very in the football team. It was you hope to be put in. On the rugby squad, the coach said everybody's playing because there were a lot of injuries and people were short. On crew, it was nice because it was a team, and I was one of the leaders. The stroke is the guy that sets the pace. I was the starboard stroke, and I led the rest of the team. And again, it was a lot of precision involved in crew. And
how does that relate to what you're doing today?
Well, it's the same thing. I mean, crew is a team. Crew is a team sport. Building a business is a team sport. And in the boat, you have to everybody pulling the same way, or you're going to have problems.
Michael, growing up, what did your bedroom look like?
Well, it was very neat and clean. I used to really enjoy making. It was almost like a magazine type thing.
So, did it differentiate you from your siblings?
It did. It's interesting. I think that my personality traits came mostly from my mother, and my siblings came from my father. They didn't really care much about their environment. And matter of fact, we called my brother's room the mole hole.
So, Michael, that precision in making sure your bedroom looked like a magazine photo shoot, is that when it first started showing up, your organization and perfection?
It would definitely be in my teens. And my mother was all Italian. We're Italian Catholics. She liked everything neat and clean. And I had a pretty close relationship with my mother. I don't want to say that I was her favorite because my brother and sister might be listening. But we had a good relationship, and I liked doing things the way she did it.
Are you looking for people like this with these traits for your company?
Well, I think the interesting thing is that, each business, the team is everything. But, if you're running an advertising agency, you need a certain type of person. If you're, football team, you need athletes, obviously. In our business, we are looking people that really like structure and like to have things right. And so our quest, yes, is to find other like-minded people. We've been able to do it. We've grown 16% a year for 20 years in a row. But that is the limiting factor to grow the business, is to hire more people.
I'm just curious, when you're interviewing these folks, like how do you discern this? How do you get it out so you see that they have that precision quality you're looking for, that perfection?
You don't. You have to hire people, and you have to work with them. And usually in 30 to 60 days, you know whether or not.
So they don't have to be that way. You can develop it.
I think their personality has to be that they like precision and structure, but you never really know whether they're going to be happy performing that way until you work with them.
Is that important that your employees are happy?
It's very important because ultimately, if the employees are happy in what they're doing, the business will be more successful and continue to grow. And if they're not, then it won't. And
you said how much growth you've had?
We've had compound annual growth rate 16.5% for 20 years.
So I think they're happy.
Well, there's more of them, that's for sure.
Brendan, what are you thinking?
When did the light turn on for you that you figured out that you were one of these kinds of people that really needed precision or desired precision in your life?
I think when I started in business when I was in my early 20s, the light kind of went on that I would do work, and the companies that I was dealing with would just keep giving me more and more and more. Many of the companies we deal with, we've been with for 30 years. So, I guess that being successful and having customers come back told me what we had to do. Mm-hmm. And when we made mistakes, we have the customer send things back. So, as I said, it's a different kind of business.
Peter?
Michael, you have a very important partner who works closely with you in your business. You want to tell us about the role your wife takes?
My wife, Joanne, we actually started dating at 20, and the business was started at 21. Some of our first dates, I would have her come to the shop and do a little work, and then we'd go down to the Chinese restaurant and have dinner.
What does she do differently than you?
She's more of the people person. She's very outgoing, very loving. She's all Italian Catholic. So the people really love Joanne. She's a very hard worker. She works full time. She has for decades. And I'm a little bit more of the policeman, I guess.
Mm-hmm. What's the website address of this organization known as Acero Precision?
It's www.aceroprecision.com.
How do you spell that?
ACERO. And then the word precision.com. We've
been speaking with Michael Fitzgerald, CEO of Acero Precision. We'll be back in a moment, right after this business spotlight. Want to help building your business with help from this show's CEOs? Our CEOs can help you uncover more opportunities, grow your sales, connect you, help you raise money, all the big issues, because our CEOs have been there and done that. They've succeeded in creating millions of jobs and earning millions of dollars, and some are available to advise you. Now, email mentors@executiveleadersradio.com. That's mentors@executiveleadersradio.com. The same CEOs you've heard on this show for 10 years may be willing to help you build your business, uncover new opportunities, grow your sales, connect you, help you raise money, all the big issues, because our CEOs have been there and done that, succeeding in creating millions of jobs and earning millions of dollars. And some are available to advise you. Now, email mentors@executiveleadersradio.com. That's mentors@executiveleadersradio.com. Back, you're listening to Executive Leaders Radio. This is your host, Herb Cohen. We'd like to introduce Jim Rogers, managing partner of Haefele Flanagan. What is Haefele Flanagan, Jim?
We're an accounting and consulting advisory firm located in South Jersey.
Mm-hmm. How large or how small is this firm?
We're about a little under 50 people.
Uh-huh. And how many brothers and sisters do you have?
I am the oldest of 5.
Uh-huh. How'd that affect you, being the oldest of 5?
Well, it taught you to be a leader as you grew up because you're the oldest of 5.
Mm-hmm. Was that something that was told to you, or was that something you just assumed?
No, it's something you just assume as a natural order of where you fall into the children.
Give me an example of how that showed up.
When we were young, I was 4 years older than my next sibling. Mm-hmm. So when I got to the point where I drove, I would, sometimes drive them around, take them to different places, sometimes teach them how to drive.
Oh, boy, you really were the responsible one. Shannon, what are you thinking?
Jim, who are you more like, mom or dad?
I'm more like my father. My mother was a stay-at-home mom. My dad was always out working, a very hard worker, very disciplined, and I'm more like my father's personality.
Drew?
Jim, what sports did you enjoy when you were growing up?
I loved basketball, just not good enough to really be able to play that actively. But I got involved with crew as I moved into high school.
And what did you enjoy about crew?
Crew is, I believe, the ultimate team sport and team effort. Everything has to be in sync all the time. There's no exception. So I loved crew.
And what was your role on the team?
I was one of the leaders. I was the 7th seat, when I was in college. And what that is that's the stroke leader on the starboard side of the boat.
And what did you learn about being on the crew team that you bring to your office every day?
Well, you learn how to deal with individuals who you have to bring together and work together all the time. There can be no exceptions. You learn discipline. You have to show up every day. Typically, in an environment, you would practice twice a day and then work out in between, and then go to school. So it required a lot of discipline to make sure you kept everything in order.
Jim, when you moved from the city of Philadelphia to the suburbs, where did you move?
Well, when we moved, I grew up in a very Irish Catholic family. We actually moved into the old church/rectory of the parish.
So what effect did that have on you growing up in the former rectory?
Well, it reinforced that Catholic environment when you grew up. We actually had confessionals in the basement. So I used to being older than my siblings, I would take them down and make them tell me their confessions.
Were you special? Like, did that make you feel special that you were living in the former rectory?
Well, everyone in the parish knew that we lived in the old church, so they thought we were a little different than the rest of the people in the parish.
What do you mean by that, different? Like special?
Well, yeah, special in the sense that, maybe we were a little in front of God more than them.
Or connected to the church.
Connected, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Brendan?
Jim, you mentioned you had an Irish Catholic family with 5 siblings. What made you different than your brothers and sisters?
Well, again, there was a pretty significant space, 4 years, so I was a little older and more mature than they were all the time.
And how does that translate into what you do today?
I think it gives me the ability to understand people. Like at work, our solution is, or our slogan is solutions through listening. So I learned at a very young age to listen. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So I think listening is the most important.
Yeah, it sounds to me like it's one of the reasons you were attracted to those confessionals. Peter?
Jim, you grew up in the neighborhood with a lot of cousins. What was your reputation among the family?
Always a little different, always worked hard, always not necessarily around because I was doing something related to work.
Did they look to you for leadership?
I believe so. They never said that, but I know I was well respected by my cousins. I know they looked up to me.
How do you know you were well respected by your cousins? What are you talking about?
You could just tell whenever we'd get together, you just felt good. I always felt good about myself. And again, I think it goes back to, being on a team. The ultimate, what I consider team sport is it gives you so much confidence in your abilities that I just always felt good about myself.
It sounds to me like, you just took on this responsibility living in the special home. Mary Pat, didn't you have some special insight into the organization that Jim's running?
Yes, I do. So they were a client of mine. I know Jim well. And I'm curious, why did you select Haefele? Haefele is a boutique firm, very family-oriented. What is it about your youth, your childhood, that drew you to Haefele Flanagan?
Well, it is more of a family organization. We have very low turnover. Over the last 3 years, we have had actually no turnover, which if you understand anything in the CPA world, that's highly unusual. We spend a lot of time and effort making sure people are trained, educated to be leaders, not to just be employees. It just reminds me of you teaching your siblings about learning how to drive. It's just like you have this responsible thing going on. Val, what are you thinking?
Yeah, and especially in the green room, you talked a lot about the theme of being the go-between between your siblings and your mom, and also between your members of the crew team and competing. And I'm wondering how this is carried forward in your role, your business, possibly with the outside clients.
Yeah, being the intermediary, isn't that what you really are? Isn't that who you really are?
Well, yeah, and again, it goes back to the whole idea of listening. Is a lot of times companies tell you their problems, but they know their solutions. They're just looking for reaffirmation of what they need to do and how they need to move forward.
Wait a minute, you sound like a priest. I mean, keep on going. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's Father Jim. That's why.
Jim, what about building relationships? You were talking about that too. The importance of that in your business.
Well,
your early business too.
Yeah, it
shoveling.
It is so important. I mean, I started when I was young. I had a paper route, and I realized pretty quickly that paper route caused or created a lot of work. So I realized I could shovel snow or cut lawns, make more money in less time with less effort. And then I realized if I could get people to do this for me and manage them and make them feel like they're part of the team, it even works better.
So how does that apply to Haefele?
Well, it's that whole idea is I think what we miss in life with people that work with us, not necessarily for us, is that you really need to teach them how to be a leader first, and you need to start that from day one.
Mm-hmm. Drew?
Jim, in the green room, you described some of your clientele at your firm as high-end. And I'm just curious, why do high-end clients come to do business with you folks?
We spend a lot of time and effort, again, educating our employees outside of school. We will pay for any of our employees to go to any outside education program they want to do if they give us reasons that it makes sense.
And I think you mentioned your reputation kind of brings them to you. Who taught you that reputation is pretty critical in the business world?
I learned it through one of my past partners, Tom Fee. Went to Wharton, and he was a big person on, developing a team, developing a reputation, a brand. Like we have never.
Wait. It sounds to me like it has something to do with you living in that church rectory.
Yeah, I hear a lot of confessions in my office.
Yeah, but it's also, you believe in conducting yourself in a respectable reputation way. Isn't that really where it comes from?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we
it's really part of it's really part of your core.
Yes, it's part of our core competency.
When you're bringing in team members and in the call, is it pretty this thing about honor and really keep your head up? Is that part of who you are?
Yes, it's part of who I am and who our organization is. Is that one of the
reasons these really reputable and larger clients come to you and stick with you?
Oh, absolutely, because they know they'll get quality service and quality advice.
Especially because there's not a lot of turnover of staff. I mean, if the staff's turning over, they're going to have somebody different working on the account year after year.
Oh, absolutely. We believe that's the number one issue in our marketplace.
What are you talking about? What do you mean?
Well, you have to maintain good quality people, but you have to offer them opportunities at the same time, which means you have to have growth. So you have to have a strategic plan that sort of pushes you forward, and we try to do that all the time.
Shannon, what else are you thinking?
Jim, what have you learned from your wife that you bring to your business today?
My wife is outstanding. She is the glue to our family much more than myself. She's Italian, so we have a lot of Sunday family dinners where everyone comes over, we talk about what's going on, and
I don't know where that question came from, but that's a stellar question. You're telling me that your wife's like the glue that holds the family together, and you do something. You're like a family kind of guy.
Oh, yeah. Yes, absolutely.
So sometimes you take the lead, and sometimes you're okay being led.
I'm okay with anyone. Like we have a motto in our office. One day the person at the front desk can be the chief person in charge, depending on who comes in the door and how she treats them. Yeah. And another day it could be me.
What's the website address of your organization?
HFCO.com.
We've been speaking with Jim Rogers, managing partner of Haefele Flanagan. And this is your host, Herb Cohen. Peter, can you give us a rundown of who we've had in the air today?
Sure can, Herb. We had Deborah Diamond, President, Campus Philly, Bob Cole, founder and CEO of Worldwide Stereo, Michael Fitzgerald, CEO of Acero Precision, and just now Jim Rogers, managing partner, Haefele Flanagan.
I'd like to thank my co-hosts, Shannon Lane, Newmark Knight Frank, Peter Snelling, Merrill Lynch, Andrew Hanlon, Hanlon Creative, Mary Pat Kessler, Sabre Systems, Brendan Fee, Morgan Lewis, and Val Val Schlitt, VSA, from giving me a hand structuring the questions, hopefully providing our listening audience an educational enough show. Thank you for listening. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a radio show. And have a nice day. Bye-bye.